What was it specifically about that moment that made you suddenly grasp onto this? Because it seems like that was somewhat immediate. Am I wrong?
Yes and no.
Okay.
The less you know, the better off you are at the beginning because you're more innocent and more curious. I'm definitely a very curious person, clearly. But I was fascinated by somebody who had accomplished so much at such a early part of cinema, but not even the early cinema part. The fact that she was an artist and an entrepreneur, I personally related to that, but I felt that I needed to do work or somehow what could I do to help get her more known. And I was actually talking to Robert Redford because my day job is I do graphics. So now you know the secret to the secret sauce behind some of this. And I was working on one of his films, and I asked him, "What do you think we should do?" And I said, "I think maybe we should do a documentary." Of course, if I went back in time, I'd probably shoot myself. But it's never a full like aha moment. It takes kind of time to brew. Can I do this? Do I know what I'm doing? Am I going to find anything? And then you align yourself with people such as Joan Simon and the many other people that we stand on their shoulders that have worked on ours before in pieces. I read her memoirs, and that's kind of what became the aha moment for me. But I didn't realize that my oh yeah would take me all the way here.
What were the things that you found, or what was the find that kind of put you over the hump in feeling like you were on to more truth with Alice?
One of the amazing things about this project is that we started on Kickstarter and we're completely donation based, and we have people in the audience that are donors to the film. Because of the freedom that I had with the donors helping me along the way, I was able to, for the first time, collect all of the work as much as possible in the different archives over the years, transfer them, get the rights, and show them for the first time in one film the most of her work. And the clips might be short. Yes, I like fast-paced cutting, but I was so eager to show how much this woman had done. I got carried away myself. I'm like, I'm going to show this one. I'm going to show that one. But also, and the formats were a mess. Dino Everett, who's in the audience today, wearing a Be Natural shirt, head of the Hugh Hefner Archives at USC, he had to reformat all the films. It's not a one-person job. It's an army. You saw the end crawl. So just because the films were available, it doesn't mean that they were ever seen by the mass audience. And, I want everybody to know about Alice. Yes, she is part of history and silent cinema. And I've tried to yank her out of that a little bit so people can get to know her as a human being, as an artist and an entrepreneur. I can't yank her out completely, but I've definitely broadened her base and for a younger audience and people that you don't have to be necessarily an expert in cinema. You should like her for her creativity and for her determination and tenacity.
But I think you've also pulled her in two directions, out to the wide public, but now her name is among three: Lumiere, Méliès, Alice Guy-Blaché.
As a curator, editor, and now writer-producer, you've consistently worked to bring the work of women in the arts into the popular gaze. What initiated this interest, and do you plan to continue on this path, and how does Alice fit into that?
Great. Thank you for the question. Mm-hmm. I've done it for almost 40 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the early 70s, there was a very common phrase, anonymous was a woman.
Mm-hmm.
And many people started to attach their name to their work and to put it in the field of vision. When I worked on a magazine, we made sure we looked at a range of shows. Women were writing, men were writing. It was a beginning to write books because they last longer than magazine articles. Working in film, in museums, and you know, with other publishers. They're all different channels, but the process is the same and the goal is the same. And yes, the answer is a firm yes.
When you see what they were originally like on the screen, and you have music and you have the good pieces, then you're suddenly not only doing archaeology of what was, but you take it a step further and have contemporary filmmakers who are thinking in the visual terms that a filmmaker thinks in. So you spent a lot of time doing that. What was the key to getting a lot of these people to participate in this?
Well, when I first compared the early cinema to YouTube filmmakers, I think there was a wanted sign on my head in the cinephile archive world, because they did not like that. They did not like that approach. So I needed to find the right person that saw what I saw. And Dino, of course, always saw that, Dino Everett. Henry Jenkins, who was, he was the person who discussed it. And when I looked at it, I was like, these do look like SNL shorts. And the thing is, if you're watching a film and you want to learn about a woman and you want to learn about the context and the era, etc., if you don't make it relatable, people are going to tune out. So when I looked at it, that's the way I felt. Mm-hmm. So that's why I projected. And as far as getting the people, it took a lot of work. They had to go to our Guy-Blaché school every time. There's nobody that's in there that's fake. They all had to read. I had this binder that I would take to each meeting and show them all the different things. I had to watch all the films. They were along the journey with me. Together, we were all learning about Alice Guy-Blaché. So that was very important to me, to keep it honest. And for anybody from any walk of life, if you're, into construction, a plumber, or whatever, you shouldn't feel weird to watch a documentary and ever feel uncomfortable if you don't know something, because I have felt that way in documentaries. I'm like, oh, I don't know who this person is, and they're talking about him. Now I have to look it up. Mm-hmm. And I never wanted anybody to watch this film and not know who, what, where, and ever feel like, oh, I don't know anything about cinema. Well, you don't have to, because I'm going to walk you through the whole thing, and then you can go watch it again.
Do you believe the landscape of cinema, and specifically for cinema for women, would be different had Alice Guy-Blaché's story and work not been lost to history? And how would it be different had her story been a part of the narrative from
her story and many stories? I mean, if you notice in the film, 3 times, Dino says, why are we showing, restoring Metropolis for like the 50th time? There's all these other women we should know about. I think absolutely. My dream was to be here to have a screening. My dream will be at the museum, that when people walk in, that they see Lumiere, Méliès, and Alice. And then later, because she had a 22-year career, and women were not documented or recorded. So,
not just women directors, but women writers. They were in every part of the
architects, So hopefully
editors.
Editors. Mm-hmm. So hopefully with this film, it can push and help other projects that have to do in silent cinema, or other projects to get these stories told and made.
Thank you so much for sharing your film with us.